How to install stately doors. Step-by-step guide.
Hello, my name is Scott Cooper with Stately Doors and Windows. I'm here with Michael Cortez. Today we're going to show you how to install one of our double doors.
First step is to level the foundation. Now this platform probably isn't perfectly level, so we're always going to use composite shims. Never wood.
Never would.
Yeah, in moist conditions, the composite shims are far superior. And that looks good right there.
So what do we do next?
We're going to set the frame.
Okay.
Two-man operation. You're always going to want to plumb the inactive side first. And that was this side. It's perfect. At this point, we are going to tack 4 structural screws in each corner. So once we have this tacked up, we're going to set the doors. Inactive side first, and you're going to want to use lithium grease before setting the doors. 1, 2, 3. So once this inactive door goes in, I like to just test the flush bolt to see how easy that goes in, because that kind of lets me know how square the opening is. But those went in pretty good, pretty easy, so that it's a good indicator. Okay, perfect. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Second door goes in. First thing I always do is check the top reveal. These 2 doors have to be equal at the top, and that reveal also has to be equal for these doors to work right. One of the most critical parts when I go out on repairs, this is the most common thing that's wrong. So even though we leveled the foundation, this part still might be off. And we leveled it, and it's still maybe about a 1/16 off. So we're gonna wanna loosen these screws and lift this side up, shim this side up just a little bit. So we need to pick this end up about 1/8, and that feels pretty good.
So you've removed the two
screws on this
from
side.
the top
so,
and the bottom.
yeah.
And now to correct the reveal on the top, you're going to shim this side a little bit more.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're gonna go ahead and test the opening. These doors have ball catches, and they're adjustable. If there are any problems with them, they can easily be changed out as well. It's a little tight. It feels like it's tighter at the top, so I'm just gonna go counterclockwise 1/4 of a turn. That feels good. You can hear that click. Nice and solid. In the worst case scenario, you do everything correctly. Your top reveal is perfect. You've squared the 2 doors so that your reveal here is perfect, but then the doors are hitting for some reason. You can't figure it out. So that's when you would look at these gaps here, and you've got wiggle room between the door and the frame, so you can actually pull these doors over to one side. So what you want to do is get some shims and shim this top corner so that your frame doesn't move. If you put your screw in at an angle and pull it that way, then the whole frame's going to move. So we don't want the whole frame to move. That's why we put these shims here. We would take this screw out, take a crowbar, and create some space, maybe a 1/4 inch between the framing and the bracket. Put your screw in at an angle and pull it. It's gonna pull that way and create more space. There's still room in these doors to go one way or the other. If you run into a pinch, it's very rare that something like that would happen. But if you run into it, there's always a solution. If your top is hitting, then you would want to pull the top side and vice versa. At this point, we are going to install the hardware. I always install the deadbolt first because that tells me how far I need to push. This is adjustable. There's wiggle room on the handle. This is the inactive side, so it's not gonna have a lock in it. On your handles, you might have a little bit of overspray. We have some here, so I'm just gonna take my knife and get rid of the excess. So we clean that up, and our deadbolt goes in nice and easy. And I like to get these screws started by hand first before I actually tighten it. And just take a second to look at the outside and make sure that everything's square, that it's not crooked. Outside looks good. Now it's time to install our hardware. So you want to make sure that there's no gap at the top, but then you're not covering the actual deadbolt itself. Measure, so we got about 1 5/16 inches. Take your pencil, just trace out around the male part. Make sure you got a brand new titanium bit. And when you're drilling, you want to make sure that you're at a 90-degree angle and square going through. I like to use a 1/2 inch diameter, something a little larger than these, just so you have wiggle room. It's on the outside, and I get these started by hand first. There we go. You're gonna want to hit it and just make sure that it's on there nice and tight. That feels good. So these handles are push-pulls. The door is relying on those roller catches to latch. So in this case, we would use flat plates. Go on just as a latch. Just like on this deadbolt, on these cutouts, there's some buildup, a finish buildup, and we just want to cut that off with our knife so that plate can go on smoothly in the opening. So you have to push slightly to get this to lock, so it's rubbing on this side. So we'd need to bore that out slightly, and you find this on every door. Just make sure you're doing it nice and clean. A lot of times I'll take a little bit of black paint. Okay, that's perfect. A lot of people are using digital deadbolts and they lock by themselves. So this is something that would have to be done. It would have to go in without anything catching on it, or that lock isn't going to look right. So this is a big part of security.
If you order our custom doors, they come with a metal trim kit. The width of the trim kit will be determined by your installer or by us if we're going to install your door, based off of what you currently have and what is needed to cover the gap around the door. We're going to show you how it's attached. We're not going to do it today. The metal trim kit will be fully welded at each corner and shipped with your jamb attached to, not attached to jamb, but shipped with the jamb. At the factory, they're going to allow for a 1/2 inch overlap onto the jamb, so it gives you some mounting points. So you will have to drill into the trim, but you don't need a lot of hardware, maybe 2 on each side, and 2 across the top should hold it. It's not structural, it's just to cover up the gap, just the same as brick mold would, or trim on the inside.